Hi everyone, Deb here. It's the 27th of January at 8 p.m. and I have a whole bunch of stuff on my mind. Stuff is just like, I don't know, it's just like ping-ponging in my brain. And so I'm hoping that this will help me get it out. And I'm hoping that maybe y'all can leave some comments. All right. I've got to lay down a bunch of points, and then at the end of my laying down of a bunch of points, I'm gonna try and bring it all together. That's my intent. I hope I can make a go of it. Okay, so we were okay. I've got this picture up, so I'm gonna start here. When I saw this movie, Noah, I was so angry. I was so very angry when I came out of this movie. I'm like, what the crap was all those rock people? They're supposed to be angels that are rocks? What is that? There's nothing about that in the Bible. You know, they're not watchers. The Bible doesn't say anything about watchers, blah, blah, blah. And I prayed and prayed about it. I would say probably a couple weeks I prayed about it because I was so disturbed by the way they portrayed everything. And I just was, I was I thought they did a horrible job, but it got me to thinking about lots of stuff. So it really wasn't all bad, um, and I'm kind of glad for it now because after that I was led to. I'm gonna go to a different thing now, different picture. After that, I was led to several different discoveries, and because of that original one, it really helped me to be able to stomach and handle other ones. Now, this is what I have a picture up here is you can see the guy here, and this is a mountain. Without that movie from Noah, I would not have been able to accept Mud Fossil University. I don't know if you all have heard of them. Or their videos on YouTube, but they're very interesting. Uh, Age of Discovery is another one I've watched a bunch of videos on. And this one that I have lined up here is from Dictionary of Truth. And they just go through and they start showing me all the giants that the Book of Enoch talked about. And I mean, when he talked about them, I think that it has been a while since I read it. I've slept more than a few times since then. I think that they were like 300, 400 feet tall. Okay, so I mean, it kind of blows your mind, and you don't really think that these things were real, but they were real, and there are just so many different pictures. I'm going this one too. Um, Check that guy out. I mean, when you're actually willing to accept that there were extreme giants, um, then you're able to actually open your eyes to things like this. They're right in front of your face. Okay, like I lived near Colorado Springs in high school, and there's these giant rock formations that are called the kissing camels, and they kind of look like two camels kissing, and everybody just laughed it off. And now I'm like, I'm not laughing it off. In the book of Enoch, it talks about angels who had sex with women, and I think it was in Jasher that it makes it a little more plain that they appeared as the husbands of the women. And I've talked about this in other videos about angels. Some angels are shapeshifters. They can change their appearance, so that the women didn't even know what was going on until it was too late. I'm sure the men were real happy about that, right? Okay, so we saw the, back in that first picture. So this movie was, in a way, giving us hidden truth about what? About the fallen angels turning to rock. I think it's really interesting to listen to the Mud Fossil University guy talk about how they came to be. He's done some DNA testing and found that they have some human DNA. So these must be hybrids. I'm not sure, but they do have some elements of human DNA. So that's very interesting. Okay, so let's see, where should I go to next? Okay, keeping in mind these angels being rock, this is a big, gigantic rock. I want you to keep that in mind. Okay, another thing that has bugged me over and over again is this Cern. And Cern, they say that it's a big magnet, all right? And this is an old piece about Cern. They've brought in bigger magnets now, but, and this was the first long shutdown here. As part of the shutdown, up to 18 superconducting magnets on the Large Hadron Collider. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. What I want you to think about is the Cern being a huge magnet. Now, the information that they've been telling us is that, oh, maybe they're going to open up a little black hole and bring something in, and or maybe we'll send something out, okay? And so they've got us all wigged out about extra demons in our realm. Some of us. Okay, but I've always been thinking that they're giving us disinformation because that's what the elites, the Illuminati, like to do. They like to give you some disinformation. They like to throw in a little truth in there. So here's where I think the truth is in the superconducting magnets. Now, when I looked up Cern, how many Cerns there were before, I believe there were like 4 of these super magnets all over the earth. All right, so I want you to just consider something that you probably haven't considered before or thought about before. But if these, okay, so I don't know if you've watched my video about angels or stars, stars or angels. I'm sure there are many different classes of stars, many different kinds of stars. But now that we have these new cameras, people have not only taken pictures of them, which I have in a couple of my videos, and other people have videoed them. And these beings are lighted beings, and they are alive, and they're moving. They're like moving fast all the time. And I even did a video when I first found out that that's what they were. We would go outside in the evening and say hi to them and just kind of focus on one at a time. And then we watch it go and move all around. And we were like, ooh. Yeah, but I don't want to mess with angels too much because I remember what happened after reading Enoch in the book of Jasher. I don't think it's a good idea to get too chummy with angels. So while I am in awe of God's handiwork, I I don't really want to get too close to them. But anyway, so now we're going to go back to the magnets. Superconducting magnets, angels, rocks. Okay, then the next thing I want you to keep those 2 things in mind. The gigantic magnets on the earth, there's at least 4 of them that we know of, and angels as rocks. Okay? I want you to remember when you were a little kid and you were playing in the Oh, that's not the one I want. In the sandbox with a giant magnet. Maybe you didn't do that when you were a kid, but when I was in kindergarten, first grade, I had this big magnet, you know, and I would take the magnet and do this in the sandbox, and then I'd pull it out and it'd have all these black flecks on it, okay? So I want you to keep that in mind when you're thinking about magnets. Now, this is from WSO's channel, this picture. There was a day where me, Noah, Jesse, and Sasha were driving from our town into another town, and we saw something like this, and it wigged us out. Sorry, it wigged us out. All right, but I've heard this WSO guy. He likes to talk about Nibiru and Nibiru, planet Nibiru, and stuff. He also thinks it could be wormwood of the Bible. I think it very well could be wormwood of the Bible. But the more I think about it, in this middle picture, and also I don't know if you've watched my video about synthetic light or sin light, and WSO really covers the synthetic light well, and this would be like the synthetic light. I looked up blueprints and all kind of stuff like that on synthetic light. I'm not the only one who has. Richie from Boston here on YouTube as well. He's done it several times. There is synthetic light, y'all. And anyway, so I'm not going to get super huge into that. But what I started thinking about was this synthetic light. And also what there's also a guy named Matthew Rogers, I believe it is, Skywatcher on YouTube, and I've watched a lot of his videos, and because just tons of people all over the world, sent him pictures of what they see in the sky, and I compare it to what we see here in the United States, in my area, and I'm just blown away by the weirdness and stuff. But okay, so we saw something like this, and a lot of people are talking about how this could be something blocking our sun, or our sun may not be shining. Now, if you go to the Bible says in the last days, the sun and the moon are going to refuse to shine. The moon's going to turn to blood. We've seen blood moon tetrads. We've seen blood moons over and over and over again. You got to catch them early when they first are coming, when the moon is first rising, or else you kind of miss the show. Okay, so I started thinking upon what WSO showed here, and also then I was thinking about David Bowie's Black Star. Like right before he died, he did some, I don't know, some video off of his album for Black Star, and he goes over and over again in this song, you know, that he's a black star. He's not a Marvel star. He's not a gangster. He's a black star. And the words are really bad. They're probably an incantation of sorts or a spell, so I'm not going to read them all out loud. But I just wanted to kind of touch on that for a second. Okay, so let me go back to here. This is the wild thought that came in my head. And you're probably going to chuckle and laugh at this. I don't know. But I was thinking about the scripture that talks about the abomination that causes desolation. Okay, so what if this black star, oh, and I had a scripture, I can't remember. I wrote down too many scriptures to it. I'm not sure where that was now. Oh, diggity dog. There's too many different things. Anyway, okay. Let me see if I can get my Trend of thought. Okay, the abomination that causes desolation. We've seen it happen before, an abomination that caused some sort of desolation. But if there were a black star, let's say that this ring around the simulator that they're constantly like chemtrail like crazy so we don't see. What if that is a black star covering the sun? And what if that is the abomination that causes desolation? Okay, so where am I going with this? Well, I'm kind of going with it to what's been going on around the earth. There's volcanoes. I don't know if you're watching that stuff, but I'm watching the volcanoes. I'm watching the earthquakes, and they're increasing in intensity. There's like more volcanoes, more earthquakes. And right this second, I can't remember which happens first. But then what also has happened several times is like this, like parts of the Mississippi disappeared. And I mean, there's been this kind of a water phenomenon happen several different places on the earth. Rivers and I think even a sea and the ocean in some place like receded hugely. And there's like pictures of boats all over the place. And you know that these people have got to be like wanting to pee their pants because they're like, oh my gosh, how are these fishermen gonna make a living now because they can't get their boat to the water? You know, but I don't think that they're being reported on too much. And Snopes has tried to disprove it. Now, if it's on Snopes and Snopes is disproving it, that's probably true. I think Snopes is like the devil's handiwork. But anyway, so I was thinking about this because if that black star is in front of our sun, if we were taught anything that was true in school, like how the moon creates tides, what is a black star in front of our sun going to cause? All right. So that was very interesting to me. And with all of the with all the volcanoes going on and with the earthquakes and weird weather phenomenon, their new names for the weather phenomenon, they're telling us that it's warfare. It's just, you know, it could be causing the desolation on the planet that we're seeing. The black star in front of the sun could be causing that. Anyway, then also I was thinking about the sign of Jonah, how I believe it was Jesus was saying, let's see if I wrote down where that scripture was. No, of course not. I have it in a different video. Anyway, Jesus was talking like in the last days, that you're not going to get any sign except for the sign of Jonah. Well, Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and it was dark. There wasn't any electricity in there. It was a dark time for him. So that's one reason I think that there are 3 days of darkness gonna come. And then in Hosea chapter 6, it talks about after 2 days he'll revive us, and it also talks about darkness there. In Isaiah chapter 60, 1 through 3, it talks about Yahweh bringing his light, his glory upon us, and Yahweh is light. In Psalms 18:6, it talks about Yahweh lighting my candle. In Psalms 112:4, it talks about light arising in darkness. In Daniel 12:3, it talks about those who are wise will shine. In Colossians 1:13, it talks about us being delivered from darkness and transferred to the kingdom of his dear son. So I think that there probably will be 3 days of darkness, and also I think he's going to light us. I think that these are not just figurative, but literal. And one reason that I believe that is because they say we have some junk DNA. I think it's like 10 strands or something of supposed junk DNA. Well, I don't believe that's junk. I think it's stuff that's dormant that we lost in the fall. And I've been asking Yahweh to come and revive that in us. Anyway, so what got me thinking about, another part that got me thinking about all this was it is the YouTube channel It Is Finished with Todd. He was talking about 311. Now, he's talked about it, 311. Blue Heaven has talked about 11 a bunch of times, 911, 411, and I think 311 before. Anyway, it always makes me angry when they talk about 311 because there's a band called 311 that really messed with my eldest son. But then I was sitting on the couch thinking about the number 11 is the number of confusion. And with It Is Finished, with Todd's latest video, I think it's his latest one of his last 3, talking about Shunami and 311. And he was talking about how January 31st is a 311 of sorts, because in lots of the world, lots of the parts of the world, and I really hate it when I see it here too, is they will write the date like backwards. They'll put the 31st first and then the month and then the year. And I'm like, why are they doing that? That bugs me. But anyway, they do that in some places here, even in the United States. So that January 1st would be a type of 311. I am not date setting. I'm not date setting. I'm just talking. I'm just working through all of these things in my mind, trying to put pieces of the puzzle together. So, don't get all ticked off at me. All right. So, and then I thought about the super blood moon that is once in a blue moon, it hasn't happened for 150 years. Okay. And something coming in front of that. And when I think about different dreams and stuff I had, but I've gone too far, so I'm not going to go into my dreams right now. But I saw many different, I saw at least 3 different heavenly bodies, because I don't like to use planets. Anyway, heavenly bodies in the sky. And I just thought about it being an eclipse as well. So we got the super big super moon, blood moon, once in a blue moon, that's going to be eclipsed. What the crud? On, on a Jewish feast day, holiday too. So, to be Shavat. It's about trees. So anyway, all of that stuff together, but with the 311, and that says to me like 3 days of confusion, because 11 is confusion, means confusion, and that's why 9/11 was confusion, utter confusion. Anyway, I'm just wondering if maybe that might issue in 3 days of darkness, or if some other kind of catastrophic event is going to issue in 3 days of darkness, and darkness would be confusion. And it could even have something to do with the demonic. Anyway, that's a lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts that are going around in my head. I'd love to hear what you think about it, because I know nobody's talking about this stuff. And I would love to, hear your thoughts on it. So anyway, I think I'm going to stop there. And I hope to talk to y'all soon. Stay on your knees. All right. God bless.